What's up, everybody? This is Ralph Amsden, co-host of the Seton Rivals podcast. We're about to be joined by Brett Quintyne and Chilly to talk about last week's action in Chandler-area football. But before I do that, just a reminder that the Seton Rivals podcast is brought to you by ArizonaVarsity.com, the Rivals affiliate site covering all Arizona high school football and basketball in the state of Arizona. You can support us by becoming a subscriber. Just jump onto ArizonaVarsity.com, and if you're not already a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. It costs about $8.33 a month to support all that we do. Subscribing to Arizona Varsity helps us bring you content just like what you're about to listen to. We are also part of the ArizonaSportsCast.com podcast network. ArizonaSportsCast.com hosts podcasts covering Chandler-area football, like you're about to listen to with the Seton Rivals podcast, as well as high school sports from around the state, the Arizona State Sun Devils, the Phoenix Suns, and Arizona Cardinals. So if you could go ahead and search for Arizona Sportscast on iTunes, become a subscriber, leave a review, that would be fantastic. Without further ado, let's get you to this week's episode of the Seton Rivals podcast.
The playoff pairings will be set and teams are jockeying for position. 2 games left for most teams, and it was a very productive week for the Chandler-area squads. We saw a comeback win, another shutout, and a couple of back-and-forth games. 5 wins and 2 losses was the final tally, so let's dive in. As always, I'm joined by my guys Ralph Amsden and Chilly, and as we talk solid football across the board at the 3, 4, 5, and 6A levels, we'll begin with the Valley Christian Trojans. They blast Paradise Honors 61-13 to improve to 6-2 on the season. 27 points in the fourth quarter, 28 points in the third quarter. Chilly, very simply, Kirk Sundberg's team was dominant on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, Sundberg had his team doing exactly what we knew that they would do. They got out there, they got loose, 61 points. I mean, they're just warming up, gearing up for this playoff run that they're about to go on. This team is talented, and 61 points showcases that. Paradise Honors, I think, is a team that's kind of struggling, and this is what you do to a struggling, team. You
don't take the foot off the gas.
You show no mercy. You have your Karate Kid moment, and you kind of. This is football. It's contact. It's violent. Beat them into the ground and beat them into submission, and then you keep moving forward. And I think Valley Christian, they got. We've said this before. They have a great thing going on, and I'm excited to watch this run that they go on. Stinson's an absolute monster at corner. I know that Ralph has been hyping him up for a minute, and I think he's easily one of the most talented DBs in the Chandler area.
Big week for Valley Christian. They're all out there hanging out with George W. Bush and stuff out there.
Oh,
you guys see that?
Winfrey. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Brian Winfrey getting it done.
Yeah, you want to put on a show when the president's in town, I guess. Also, Griffin Ray, I guess, who's a special needs student out at Valley Christian, was able to run for a 60-yard touchdown.
See, that's awesome.
In this game. And then on the flip side, I think a Paradise Honors student scored on the next play, who was also a special needs student. If
I do like when that happens, because we'll see that in basketball on occasion, like basket for basket. So overall, definitely good showing by Valley Christian, but more importantly, great sportsmanship by both teams. Home game against Casteel Catholic next week. The Golden Eagles check in with a 5-3 record. The Arizona College Prep Knights, they're now 7-1 on the season as they post their 6th straight victory, 32-21 over Fountain Hills. Down 21-6 going into the fourth quarter, Myron Bluford's team went to work. Richard Williams with a pair of rushing touchdowns in the first 3 minutes of that final quarter. That got them closer, but it was Mark Chavez to Bryce Chen who would prove to be the winning touchdown. Chilly, we can't forget about Brian Dyson, 9 catches, 167 yards, and a score.
I think that ACP, they have the toughest part of their schedule coming up right in front of them as they also get ready for the playoffs too. Mm-hmm. I think that ALA Gilbert North is a very talented team that will keep ACP's hands full. I think Blues Crew's got to figure this out and figure out how to get some of these tough dubs. Gilbert Christian's always talented, and they got a dynamic backfield, 2 running backs. So ACP really has to take this opportunity to get some of these tough wins and gear up for what's next.
Ralph, number 7. Who would have thought it? That right now, as the rankings are out, ACP at number 7. It's awesome.
And announced as we had already started this podcast, and so you guys will be hearing it for the first time. Arizona College Prep coach Myron Bluford named the Arizona Cardinals High School Coach of the Week.
What?
That's awesome.
That's 1-9 last year. They're 7-1 right now.
That's terrific. I mean, this is a guy, and you said it well last week. He's where he wants to be.
Yeah.
He's building something. He's getting the buy-in from the parents, the community. The success, obviously, is showing on the field. Just a terrific guy and very deserving of that Cardinals Coach of the Week honor. So congratulations, Myron Bluford. 7-1, and as Chilly said, they'll host 4-4 ALA Gilbert North next week. The Seton Catholic Sentinels, they're now 5-3. Ralph, you were at this one against Flagstaff. Wild game, and always tough to make that trip and come away with an L.
Yeah, they probably should have won this game. They were up 16-7 at the half. Honestly, I don't know if they lost focus or what, but the Flagstaff offense made some adjustments, came out, made some plays, and then then they were driving to put the game away. I mean, it would have been over, and then they forced a fumble, and Woolsey, number 14, he runs that 82 yards back for a touchdown, and then gives them the lead, and then he comes out and he makes an interception on the next drive. So not only does Seton Catholic, erase the defensive mistakes that put them in a hole, they end up with the ball and an opportunity to probably put the game away, and they end up surrendering a defensive touchdown. And then Seton Catholic, who I have not seen score an offensive touchdown. I've been to 2 of their games this year.
Oh, wow.
I went to the first quarter of their game against Mesquite and left when they were down 12-0. Okay. Came to this game when they were up 16-7 and only saw them score on defense. So maybe I'm the jinx. But yeah, it was an interesting game. They drove the ball down to probably, I want to say they were inside the 20 at the end, and then they just ran out of time. I think maybe turned the ball over on downs. I missed a good portion of the end of the game because Flagstaff's athletic director was just shouting at me because I guess 2 weeks ago they had a referee run into a student photographer, an NAU student photographer, and they got a penalty thrown on them, and it cost them the game. Like, they had stopped Mojave, and then the ref bumped a reporter, and then it gave him 15 yards. They scored in the next play, and Mojave beat Flagstaff. So here I am, a reporter who made a 3.5-hour drive to give Flagstaff some positive buzz, but they don't know me. They've never seen me before. And so while I'm trying to cover the very end of this game, their athletic director's in my ear, and I had told her, I was there and I was doing the AIA's post-game show, and I promised that I wasn't going to cause any problems. And I was not standing too close to the field. I was behind the line at all times. I had Alex Simpson with me who had a foot over the line, and she was not very happy about that. But I did miss the latter part of the game because I was 100% sure we were about to get kicked out of the Sky Dome out there, and that's unfortunate. I was pretty upset. She's an AIA executive board member, by the way.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. So I definitely, telling her that I was doing the AIA post game show, it did not impress her.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so she was pretty mad, and while I was not very appreciative of of her tone and her not letting me do my job, I slept on it, and when I woke up the next morning, I realized, man, it really sucks for those kids. I get the paranoia. It absolutely sucks for those kids to have had to go through something like that. I hope that that's something that the AIA takes a look at. I know it's happened to Jason Skoda before when he was out covering a Tukey Bowl. A referee threw a flag on him for walking onto the when you're on the sideline and somebody is running down the sideline to score, well, everybody steps out. So in order to see it or film it or anything like that, you step out too.
Absolutely.
I know he got flagged for that, or he got Mountain Point flagged for that one time. I think that's something I would really, really like to see change, because that was definitely not a welcoming environment to cover a game in.
Absolutely.
But this is a Seatown Rivals podcast, so we're talking about Seton Catholic here. I will say I am impressed with what they're doing defensively. I think that Mikey Castro is probably a year away. I'd like to see him
Be that breakout guy.
Yeah, because he's so talented, and he's such a good kid. He's just a little bit of a dancer, and it gets him out of trouble. But then sometimes it keeps him in trouble. And you want to make sure that your number one priority as a running back is always vertical.
That's right, north-south. That's right.
I mean, even the best running backs in the world who had horizontal capabilities only used it because they had to.
That's
right.
Good points.
And so, I mean, Barry Sanders wasn't looking to get sideways. He just had to because the offensive line. Yeah. Correct. But so that's the one thing I'd really like to see from him, and I think that they could probably be a threat. If he was a little more aggressive. He's so young though. He's so young, and they do need a secondary offensive weapon. Joshua Hansel is just the physically most talented guy out there. He, especially on the defensive side of the ball, he brings a lot. I do want to say number 42. His name escapes me right now. But he got them a really costly penalty in that game. He laid a big hit, and then he flexed on the entire Flagstaff sideline. He got hit with a personal foul, and I've never seen this before in 8 years of covering games. He continued flexing. So the flag was thrown, and it made me think, you already got flagged. So he just continued the flex for like another solid 30 seconds. He went and he flexed on his own sideline. So that was wild. I've never seen anybody maximize a personal foul call like that before. And I'm intentionally not learning.
Do a big thing.
Yeah. Right, get your money's worth.
I'm intentionally not learning his name because I don't want to badmouth him or anything. But if you're part of Seton Catholic, you know who 42 is, and you know what he did. It definitely cost them in the moment. But man, he definitely he played that out as far as it could possibly go.
I know Seton lost the game and stuff, and that sucks. But I'm wondering, because we're all here for it. Is it time to start the comparison, for real, between Mikey Castro and Antonio Campanella? Campanella, his sophomore campaign, he had 648 yards. 10 touchdowns, and Campanella is one of the most accomplished Seton running backs maybe ever. 648 yards, 10 touchdowns in 12 games. Mikey Castro is about to eclipse 1,000 in his next game, and I think already has 10 touchdowns, and he's still got 2 games plus the playoffs left.
I'm going to say, for me, I'd like to see Castro one more time before I get that comparison, because this is going to sound weird. Campanella, while it was long ago, wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember Campanella's style. You were closer to the machine than I was.
Yes, because you were the big school guy.
I had big school bred at that point in time. Very true. I'd almost have to see Castro one more time so I can really zone in on him. Then I feel I'd be able to make an accurate comparison.
I would say that, so I think the whole thing of what I was just talking about right now, about getting more vertical and adding a little bit of toughness to your game, is because that's who I think about when I think about Seton Catholic running backs. Is I think about Antonio Campanella.
He set the standard.
Absolutely. He's in the history of this website and this podcast. He's a top 5 favorite player for me of all time. And I'll add that I don't know if we cover Seton Catholic without him there. So
100%. 100%.
That's fair.
He's somebody that I hold into like the highest esteem. And a lot of that had to do with just how aggressive he was at his size. He was aggressive. And that was kind of a finesse offense. And he's the one that he's the one that added the teeth to it. Because they beat up on some tough teams with tough kids, Florence and all that back then.
Yeah.
Really,
remember
really
they had that one team have like 9 players quit because they didn't want to make their 2 hours.
Yeah, because they wanted to go trick or treating instead of But I mean,
it's like the anniversary of that game.
Yeah, I mean, but you think about back then, they beat up on Maricopa, who had a bunch of athletes at the time too, and he was just he was the most respectful kid in the world off the field and just an absolute bruiser on it. And so when I look at Mikey Castro, I see all of the talent there, maybe more talent, to be honest, because the way that kid stays on his feet is pretty wild. But as far as like the thirst for contact and
thirst
to move,
for no, you're right. That's a great term.
And to move the sticks, like That's what I would need to see from him.
I mean, I think the natural evolution of the game and like what's gone on, over the past few years and Seton Catholic developing has probably been beneficial for Castro. And, having Antonio having gone through there and, kind of like paving the way and stuff, and people know. And then there's the Nick Wades that kind of do the continuation. Sure. So, I'm just curious. I feel like, we got on it a little bit Nick's junior year, and then unfortunately Nick didn't play senior.
Correct.
And then, now Castro's coming out.
And what Brett said, though, it's so early. It's so early. Like all my memories of Campbell are junior, senior. So, I mean, maybe he honestly, like, he could surpass him in numbers.
I think that's what's going to happen is he's going to surpass him in numbers. But, man, like, shoot, like the legacy, it lasts for so long, and then you got to tie things to the past. So I'm just trying to figure this out. For our Seton audience, they have a lot of like older brothers and little brothers that come up and have gone through the system, so like they'll all remember their names. So just wanted to throw that out there. Hey, shout out to Antonio Campanelli. I know you played in college and stuff. So
definitely, and things don't get any easier on Friday as they head up to Scottsdale and face the Saguaro SaberCats. And Phil, before we talk about our next team, it's funny how you mentioned Campanella is one of your top 5 guys since we've been doing this. 7 years probably would be a weird number, but at some point I would love for us to do a show where we talk about memories of, I don't know if we do it after a 10-year scenario of who, and we don't ever want to leave anybody out, but certainly we have our favorites of whether it was someone we were personally attached to.
Oh, yeah, no, we could definitely do like an all-C-Town team of the last 7 years.
Oh, yeah, okay. 7 years just sounds weird, but I think 7,
that's how long we've been here, why not?
Maybe we'll do that in December or so. That'd be fantastic. The Casteel Colts, they outscored the Gilbert Tigers 48-33 to up their mark to 5-3. This was a breakout game for guys we haven't really spoken much about on this podcast. Yes, Dane Christensen, he found the groove, 20 of 27, 284 with a pair of TD passes, but Dominic Digian, 10 receptions, 146 yards and a touchdown, but it was running back Benjamin Biancas, who had 289 yards on the ground. He found the end zone 4 times. Very simply, Chilly, wow.
This Casteel team is loaded with talent. Christensen is one of my favorite leaders out there. Brock Dew, one of the most talented offensive linemen. They got a trio of running backs. They got a trio of running backs over there. And I believe it's Blancas. And I believe he just picked up the offer.
That sounds like Blancas is Blancas.
Arizona Christian, yeah.
Yeah, so, shout out to ACU with more steals. But man, this team.
And he was their backup quarterback going into the season, right?
Blancas was?
Yeah, I think Blancas was like the backup quarterback, and now he's moved into more of a. Well, he was maybe like the change of pace wildcat quarterback.
He's officially got to be the change of pace running back because he played running back against Verrado when I went out to that game early.
Okay. We haven't seen somebody with 289 on this podcast in a long time.
I mean, it's been a minute, and I know that Casteel, has had a flurry of running backs, so to speak, a flurry of kids carrying the ball for them. One of them, like Knutson, and
that's the kid I was trying to think of. Yep,
Murphy. Like I watched all of them carry the ball versus Verrado. I watched Knutson blow up last year. And man, Blancas just took this opportunity and literally ran with it. Like, he's got 10 touchdowns on the season. He's close to 1,000 yards rushing. This is a kid that, created an opportunity that, probably wasn't there at the beginning, but just, said, hey, look, I'm a football player first. I am not just, a quote-unquote quarterback or whatever, and I love to see stuff like that. Like, because I know that in other parts of the state, there are kids quitting because they're not the quarterback anymore, and that's weird to me.
Very true.
Yeah, we'll get into that at another time and another place. But yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I will. So, how about Brock Dew visiting USC over the weekend? I mean, there's some. I'm sure that if anybody even wants to question the size, you got to understand that USC is the home of Brett Nealon, the undersized center who dominated everybody all through high school and every camp he ever went to. And when I compare people, or anytime I've ever brought up Brock Dew to any college coach or anything like that, Brett Nealon's always been the name that I've thrown out. And so it'd be pretty cool if he had an opportunity to stick around the Pac-12, maybe play some center for a big-time program like USC, or I know he's got that Oregon offer as well.
Brock Dew, if you haven't seen him yet, phenomenal technique, great feet. He's got some of the best feet of any offensive lineman that I've seen. And I mean, he is literally one of my favorite offensive linemen in the state. He's a 2021 kid, obviously, and you know we get to watch him for another year. But man, I've been fortunate enough to I watched him at when he was a freshman, I think. And
he's been. You've been talking about him forever.
Yeah, I went to a not a rivals camp. I went to the Nike opening, and I watched him hold his own versus all these like superstar players.
So like Kayvon Thibodeau.
And he was tough. Like, you know, I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau's a nasty guy to go up against, but I mean, Brock held his own and kept his composure, his poise. You know, he fully understands like what the game is about, the mental side of it. He was one of the strongest mental players that I've seen on the offensive line, like in my whole time covering.
And that's what's crazy is a lot of the super technically sound guys, because like Chilly said, he's one of the best, like technique wise, he's one of the best linemen in Arizona I've ever seen. A lot of those guys are in Chandler. A lot of the ones, I mean, the physical talent, I mean, has come out of Hamilton forever.
Sure.
But you want to talk technique. Last year, and you have to help me if you went to Navy or Air Force, but Josh Pena, out of Chandler, like
I feel it was Navy.
Yeah, he was at that level, just absolute elite technique, and maybe not the biggest guy in the world, but if you know where to go and what to do, you know, you can absolutely dominate. And so,
and even the other big O lineman from Basha, I forget, didn't he go to ASU?
Yeah, Roman DeWitt.
Yeah, plenty of some terrific talent. That's skill position dead lineman. That's for
absolutely.
Sure. Casteel, they host the 3-5 Maricopa Rams on Friday, so hopefully they will pick up the W. The Basha Bears, they were blanked again, this time by the Chandler Wolves 49-0 on Friday, and after starting the year 4-0, they're now 4-4 on the season. Unfortunately, the Bears couldn't get anything going. Chilly, I know you like to be optimistic, but unfortunately, this is a team that hasn't scored in 9 quarters. When we previewed the region a few weeks ago, we knew they'd be in the playoffs, but we were hoping that they would have a little bit better showing after losing Gabe Friend.
Yeah, you know, I think I think Bash is going through a situation where they tried something with Micah Harper and it worked, you know, to mixed results. I think Coach McDonald, I'm guessing, you know, he decided, you know what, the best idea is, you know, I'm going to let Micah be an athlete because that's what Micah does. That's what Micah's been doing. Let me get him back to comfortability. I'm going to try to reboot this one more time in the season. And now he's going with a new quarterback, Josh Sink, who very, very talented, has got some promise.
Sophomore.
So, yeah, he's young, so he's trying to groom the future, not at the expense of the present, but hey, man, literally, you know, what better way to, you know, get your feet wet, get thrown to the wolves, and you know, you're not gonna see better than that. So
right.
So I appreciate how McDonald was able to say, you know what, I'm gonna try this thing with Micah Harper versus a very, very tough Highland team. You know, we're gonna see if this works. And you know, it didn't really work as he wanted it to. So now he tries it again, and hey, he says, you know what? I'm not going to get a better opportunity. You are not going to see a better defense than this. I know this is going to be hard. If you're up to the task, Sink. You lead us versus Chandler. We score, fantastic. You know, moral victories, yay. We don't score, guess what? Brophy just got pounded the other week by Chandler. Yeah, sure. It's okay. It's going to happen. Teams aren't scoring against Chandler because they're engineering blowouts, and they're scoring. They're not just mercy ruling people. They're mercy ruling people on top of the mercy rule against very, very good teams. Yeah. So, you know, I like what McDonald's doing. I like
Sink now and they can swim later.
I'm with it.
I love that's too good almost. I will say I tried to prepare you guys for this because Perry went through it. Moving your best athlete to quarterback when your quarterback goes down limits your offense in 2 different ways. And so this is the exact same thing that happened to Perry when Austin Nightingale broke his leg. They ended
Alec Montez? Was that
Alec Montez, who is actually a defensive backs coach at Perry now. He's an assistant.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. After we did the podcast,
Oh,
I was like, I wonder whatever happened to him.
Okay.
He's actually coaching at Perry.
Interesting.
And so, I mean, this would be something that he definitely recognizes, and I might try to get him on the podcast or something like that because he'll be very sympathetic to what it is Basha's going through. And I think they've got a game in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
But yeah, so he comes in. He's probably their best athlete. He plays quarterback, and they score like 7 points total in the last 5 weeks. And that might have even been before they moved up to 6A, or maybe their first year in 6A.
I think it was like their first year in
But they
like my
held,
first year out here.
But they held it down.
Yep.
They kept all the coaches, and over time it worked out. And so the recipe is there for if Basha can be patient and steadfast and keep working on just the culture that would keep the kids in the area.
Because Chris McDonald is that guy. So
yes,
him being in place is great.
He'll be there for 10 years.
And if he is, this is going to be a serious threat of a team because the biggest issue with Basha has always been that the people who live in the neighborhood go to other schools. It's very, very possible that the best team...
Heck, even my kid lives in the neighborhood and goes to another school.
Yeah.
Not by choice, but
right. And
a totally different sport, totally different scenario.
He could probably be a field goal kicker, though, I bet, to be honest.
But you got like you've got multiple guys who are starting at quarterback or playing quarterback for other schools around the state who can see Basha from their house. And Basha needs a quarterback right now. And the culture that Basha's developing is hopefully so that they won't have to worry about that type of thing anymore.
Very true.
You know, I think that, you know, and I hope that everybody that listens and follows along, whenever Gabe Friend decides to start tweeting out like all his huddle highlights, people need to understand the importance of what Gabe Friend was to this team. That kid deserves to play college. Somebody has to see those highlights. Somebody has to give him that opportunity. Because, like, this isn't just not fair what happened to him. This isn't fair to what happened to Basha because of, you know, his unfortunate injury. Like, man, I'm just...
Sometimes the proof is in the results after you're gone.
Yeah, you know, they don't ever appreciate
a
president until, you know, he dies, so, like...
But, like, it just... anybody ever wanted to do in Cincinnati is get rid of Marvin Lewis.
Right.
Now what?
Good.
Right? And so, I mean, and not that anybody wanted to get rid of Gabe Friend. I'm just saying, like, the before and after, it's pretty obvious how special of a kid this was. And I always loved that he was patient. And I always loved that he was team-oriented. And, I mean, and when I got a chance to go out and see him against O'Connor, just the way that he commanded the huddle and the way that he came back from mistakes, he's this year's Devin Larson. And, you know, nobody wanted to give Devin Larson a chance last year either, but Devin is betting on himself. He walked on in a really good situation out at Iowa State. So I mean, it might be a tough road ahead for Gabe if he chooses to stick with football and wants to be a quarterback, but he's got the mental constitution and the physical gifts to make it work out in his favor.
It's very true. And as for the Chandler Wolves, the winning streak is now at 21 games. Fourth shutout of the season. This team is, well, that's an understatement. They're really good. Davian Hunter, 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. Keon Graves, over 100 yards and a receiving touchdown. Ralph, what more can we say? I mean, there's not a lot more that we can say about this Wolves team.
I saw Day Hunter, the pictures of him on his official visit to Wyoming.
Oh, that's right,
Oh, man. Chilly, you better stay away from that kid, not talk trash about those school colors.
Come on.
Chilly has a tendency to talk trash about my favorite college's school colors to some of the kids who have a potential to maybe go out there and play.
I just like to ask them.
Stay far away from him.
I just like to ask them if they see themselves wearing, you know, the porta potty.
Wow, that's not even cool.
That's not. But I will say this: Coach Bull is a really good dude. He came out and he went in person to that Perry Chandler game. I got a chance to meet him, talk about what Wyoming's doing. He said he was out there looking at Perry kids, but it's pretty obvious we
know who he was looking at.
Yep. Because I think they were in on him before he even moved from Colorado.
Correct.
And so I thought that was pretty cool. There's at this point, what are you going to say about Chandler? They're doing everything right. They've shored things up defensively since having to deal with Chubba Purdy, which I mean it's tough for anybody. Let's be honest. Like, you watch Chubba Purdy and he does absolutely everything it seems like off kilter or incorrect or not according to how your technique should be, and it all works.
Right,
like everything works, and so I mean, and that worked against Chandler. I'm sure they love the opportunity to play Perry again. I don't think that's going to happen, but they're rolling right now. The dominance that they have established over Basha is basically like.
It's ugly.
I mean, it all started with you.
Yeah,
they were down like 31-0.
Yeah, that second half
and dropped
2012 game.
That's and I don't think Basha's even sniffed success against Chandler since
they have
time.
not. Wow.
Since being up 31-0.
That is funny. That's very true. It's the Wolves are just doing everything right, and they'll take a trip down I-10 to face the 3-5 Tucson Badgers on Friday. And
yikes!
Yeah. And Ralph, just staying on the Chubba Purdy scenario. Obviously, the Pumas, they defeat Brophy 38-16. 304 yards and 4 TD passes. He ran for one. Cade Berger stepping up with 3 touchdown catches.
He looks good. He's like establishing himself late in the season.
Yes, definitely good to see Perry kind of catching that stride.
I hear Brock Lane's playing defense.
Yeah, he's playing linebacker now.
They
he flipped the linebacker to shore up that defense because that defense is having. I mean,
that might be the move of the year.
They've got some things going on.
Maybe.
Perry. I mean, it's we were talking about obviously the rankings right now. I guess they would be number 2. I think we said in the 6A.
Yeah, currently number 2 if the conference playoffs were to start today.
Knocking on the door of the Open. We don't think they'll necessarily get there.
A lot
would have to happen. But Perry's playing well, and a big one between Perry and Hamilton.
Let's bring up this fact though. If Perry wins out, then what it will come down to is if they did not suspend all their players, they would be in the Open Division Championship.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So that's a.
We knew that then, though.
And we knew that yes.
Well, I don't think that we had a full understanding of what the formula could be. I mean,
we knew that would be a critical loss.
It's fair to say that we knew that would be a critical loss and that ended it. But I think at the end of this whole season, we're going to realize that that was it. Yes. Of course, they have to beat Hamilton, and that's not going to be easy. But all other things being equal, they probably would have been in the Open Division playoffs, and so that's something that they have to reconcile as a program. That was the sacrifice that they felt like it was worth making in that moment.
Correct. No, it's it'll be good stuff. I mean, just overall, we were just talking about Perry, and then. Obviously, we keep it in the Seton family, but Red Mountain plays a fact. How Red Mountain potentially could get into the Open, even though Perry beat Red Mountain. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, it's kind of like college football. I mean, it's who gets into those top 4, and obviously here in Arizona, it's the top 8. So overall, but yes, Perry Hamilton is certainly a big one on Friday, and that's the game I'll be at. So I'll check out the Pumas and the Huskies.
I'm excited. It's been cool because our coverage is statewide. You're doing stuff obviously for the AIA radio show now. Chilly's got a million things going on. He's got the sideline vlog. I'm running Arizona varsity, so I got to be everywhere all the time. And I've seen this year. I think I've seen everybody but Hamilton. In our C-Town coverage area.
Okay. Yeah.
I have not done an ACP game, but I'll have a reporter. I'll have a reporter there.
And I visited with ACP, so yeah. And I have not seen Valley Christian.
Okay.
So,
yeah. So
I haven't seen Valley either.
I saw. I've seen Hamilton a bunch, obviously in like 7-on-7 situations, and ACP as well. I drove all the way out to the west side to watch them. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we're juggling a lot of stuff, and we still managed to make this area a priority because this is where we came from.
That's right.
This is when it all started. So
absolutely, good stuff. Well, fellas, as always, great chopping it up with you. And next week this time we'll be talking about a little bit more postseason potential. So between Ralph, Chilly, Brett, we're out.